Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing, and today I am trying something new, so bear with me. I have no experience trying to film and use my sewing machine at the same time, and the lighting is trickier, but I wanted to do this because Ty commented that she got her sewing machine, but she hasn't used it to sew on paper yet. I will tell you, this in my channel intro, I talk about some things I have a lot of experience at, some I don't. I don't have a lot of experience sewing on paper. I hadn't sewn in probably 20 years. Then I decided I was gonna start doing it. I picked up a little Pixie Singer machine at a garage sale. Then my friend Katie gave me this machine when she upgraded to a Cadillac machine. So this is a pretty nice machine. It has a variety of stitches. You don't need a fancy machine. In fact, I probably wouldn't use a super fancy machine for this. It may be that this is terrible for machines and it destroys it, and that's okay. I love doing it and I'll buy another one. If you have troubles, one thing that people have said is a dull needle. Paper dulls things, we know that. So you might have to get a new needle. I've also found that I was really excited to use this Coats gold thread. It breaks. I can sew long enough to do a small strip on a card or something like that, but I probably couldn't sew around a 12 by 12 scrapbook page with this. I don't know if that's paper. I don't know how to set my machine. Most of what I know about my machine settings, I have learned from my YouTube friends, like Whimsical Endeavors. P was kind enough to tell me to adjust my tension one time because she couldn't handle watching me. I just want to show you what I do because I'm serious. This is not rocket science. You're going to watch and be like, what? So I have a strip of paper. I have chopped up one piece of paper and these all match. So there's no way I'm going to sew these all together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another piece of paper so that you can see I went 3 3/4 by 5 because that's a pretty standard way that I cut my papers. We're repeating this concept here. We just cut the striped paper and then we made this scrap. I've cut 2 pieces of paper. Now I can take the scrap from this one, put it on this one, and the scrap from this one and put it on here. And to help you see better, I think I'm going to stitch on this one. Oh, I must have changed my mind a little bit on the sizes, right? Because one's wider. Maybe we'll do 2. So what I do is I've opened up this pack of ephemera. That's super fun. I've got what the British call bits and bobs, and I think is a super cool name, so we should adopt that. I've got some stamps and such, some washi. You can sew over just about anything. What I don't do is put a bunch of wet glue down. I don't use a bunch of double-sided adhesive and fancy stuff. Think about the fact that you don't just want to sew today. You want to be able to do this for a while. So sometimes the way I do it is I might tack it on with a bit of washi like this. Maybe you want to think about your design a little. I know that's crazy. If you've watched me, that's probably not how I do it. I had to stop for a snack. I realized I hadn't eaten and I've had a lot of coffee. If you want to lay it all out, you can do it a couple different ways. You can plan it and tack it down with washi, or you can use a little bit of wet glue, but I'm talking just a little because all you're trying to do is keep it on there long enough to run it through the machine, and you're not going to run it through the machine until it dries. And I would guess that having that on there dulls your needle more over time. This is one of my paint smushes that I made with paint and packaging. It's probably going to be a little tricky to sew over or through. I don't know actually if I've sewed through one, and that's okay. That's exactly how I do it. I say, can I do that? And we try it. Now this is really thick and this is really thick and it's going to be lumpy if I do it that way. So maybe we'll do it this way. If you're a junk journaler, this will be super fun and relaxing for you. If you're a card maker, you're going to have to chill out because as card makers, we have a tendency to be too picky, I'm going to say, too worried about how everything looks and how it's going to lay out, and it's just too much, right? So this is a little thick and this is thick. And since we're on camera, I'm not going to experiment. If it was just me, I probably would. Okay, now think about it. If you sew, this is not a sewing tutorial, remember? This is barely any sort of tutorial. I'm going to drop that foot. I'm going to put my needle down just like I would if I was sewing in fabric. Then I have to take off my big slipper because I can't feel it. And then I'm going to go forward a little. Then I'm going to go back a little, just like I would if I was in fabric. And then I'm just going to sew right on through. Okay. Now, I didn't see the video, so I hope that you could see what was going on. And then, oh, this machine has a trimmer right here. Most of them do. Maybe the older ones don't. I'm not sure. And you can decide if you want to trim the ends all the way. You can decide if you want to leave them super long and shaggy. You can also say, that's kind of boring. Let's mix this up a bit. Let's put in a zigzag. One thing I would highly recommend is if your machine has different stitches on it, take some washi tape or something and mark the ones you like. Because, I mean, you can use the Sharpie. You know me, I've been known to write on things. But maybe you'll change over time, right? Maybe for scrapbooking you like one, or mini journals you like a certain one. I can't tell by the pictures all the time which one I like. And then I go, oh, that's not the zigzag I like. So we'll try this one. If you are nervous about sewing these two together, I'm not gonna tape them or glue them, but you could. You could put a dot of glue. You could also take this washi. Let me show you. I'll do it that way just so you can see. You could tape the end right here, and then that would help you keep it all together when you start it. I'm flexible. I look at my sewing machine usage kind of like junk journaling and say, it's gonna be great either way. I started with the sewing on paper because I was doing those quilt books, and my friend Katie, the scrapbook pages for my mom's quilts. And my friend Katie said, it might have been her idea, or she was sewing with this machine or a different one, and she started stitching on the cardstock for me now and then it evolved and I got hooked. So I do the same thing. I hit the back stitch a little bit. You don't have to. You could always glue it or tack it or whatever. I'm going to go right through. Then I'm going to, drop the needle down. I'm going to pull off that washi because I don't need it anymore. And it was just on there for a crutch. I'm going to grab these threads because if you leave those, they'll get a little jammed up. And then back. And I didn't go quite to the end. So I found that on my cards, I liked it a little spriggy. Now, my mom is an immaculate quilter. I would not send her a card with those, but I think the rest of us would like it. If I was going to send it to my mom, I'd trim it off. Okay, now, if you find that this is too plain for your taste, you can add stuff onto it with just glue. Nobody's going to know the difference or stop and think about it. You could also add bling at this point. Maybe you can't handle having two stripes, so you want to add another. Maybe you could add a third down the edge. And I didn't glue those two together. I could if I wanted. It wouldn't matter. But look how cute this would be. We could put it right on here. And a nice sentiment that says happy birthday. Oh, what about this? This is too dark for this. We need some contrast here. Always better together. We could tuck that in right there. I would ink the edges and trim off that little thing. Those little ephemera knobs. I don't know what they're called, but they bother me. I always trim them. And you'd have an adorable card. So I used paper. That's 3 layers of paper, and I sewed right through it. This one is dried paint on packaging, like a 6x6 probably, and another one with 3 layers of paper, and it worked just fine. Now, if you want to be a little more clean and tidy, we can do one of those too. Let's take one of these tags. Sorry, my hands are shaky with 2 pots of coffee and not enough food, but that's like a perfect Sunday to me. I know that some people would have spent days making this tutorial and planned step by step for you, but Ty just asked for it today and it seemed like a good idea. We can look at that and we can say, Okay, that's all right. It's maybe not the best combination of items you've ever seen together, but watch this. Now, I have one thing I should mention. I don't know if you can tell. I have 2 different threads in my machine. That's part of how I get a messier look, and I like it. Normal people don't do that. Their bobbin matches their top thread. I have a dark one and a light one. When my bobbin runs out, I just pick one that isn't the same. Lots of times I'll have white in one or the other. This time I have 2 blues because I don't know why, because I'm me. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna zigzag. We're already set to zigzag, so lots of times that's how I decide on my projects, is whatever the machine is set on. There's not a system to this. So I'm gonna go forward, then we're gonna go back, then we're gonna go forward, and I'm gonna go like this a little bit so you can hopefully read that. It's kind of nerve-wracking sewing with you guys watching. And sometimes my bobbin gets all jammed up. I don't know why. I don't know if it's my skills at loading the machine. Right now, I think I lost it. It might be empty. Oh yeah, now you can see me change colors. So sometimes it gets all jammed up and I just take some scissors and trim it out and keep going. I mean, you lose your thread, but even if it breaks or snaps, maybe this is a good example. See, it ran out like right there. So I have holes in my paper and I'm okay with that. And I think sometimes you have to be. If you're going to be like me and you're not going to check your bobbin before you start making a video, then that's okay. Usually what I do on something like that where it ran out and I didn't get a good back stitch is I'll go on the back and put some washi, not a glitter washi, it's too lumpy, and maybe some glue, just so that I know it's not going to unravel because it's too cute. I didn't put the lid on. There we go. And this is really how I work. There's not a plan. The reason I chose this paper today is because it's a UFO in my room, an unfinished object. A date with my craft room gave it to me, and I loved it. But when I started looking at it, there's not that much blue. There's a whole bunch of pages in it that I don't love. Then I opened the ephemera pack and I was overwhelmed. I couldn't believe I'd waited this long to use it. See how that looks? And I probably would have liked it better actually if the dark thread was on top, because then we would have more contrast. It could be your style. If you like pastels better, then you might want to go with a less of a contrast, right? I have been known to flip it over. The other thing, ooh, watch this. Oh, well, we can't because our bobbin ran out. Hang on. Oh, this is a good opportunity too to show you I'm not picky about my thread. My thread is garage sales, free ones from my mom. There was a bunch of thread with my Pixie when I bought it from the garage sale, so I kept it. It's like weird sewing kit stuff. I think that my mom or my friend Katie has given me these small rolls of thread. They seem to be a pretty fancy brand, like they use them in quilting. And some of this is even quilting thread. I don't think it matters. Just put some thread in there and go. Okay, here we go. Here's another blue. I know, you're surprised. And those of you who watch my channel are not shocked that my bobbins are a little tangled up. This looks like it might be just a plain white. I don't know, it looks like a kind of dingy white. So a bunch of these were wound before, and I think I'll go with white to give more contrast, because I think it might help you guys see better. So I'm gonna pop that in. You know, bobbins run out, life happens. I would recommend that you have extras. Don't just wait and then have to fill it. Okay, there we go. Now, let me show you my other crazy thing that I do. I'm gonna go down this side. I don't want 2 parallel stripes the same, so I'm gonna start like right there. And I am going to, oh, if we do that, we're gonna have white on the front. That's okay, I'm gonna show you. So if I don't want them the same, and my bobbin, my colors are different, I'll flip it over, okay? There's no rule that says you have to sew right side up. So I'm gonna put that in upside down, just like this. And if I had the little things on there and I was struggling to attach them, that would be different. I'm gonna go down a little, kind of like we planned. I'm not gonna overthink it. We're gonna go. And I'm just gonna assume that I'm gonna sew across the front of things, because I'm trying to bring in an element of interest. When I sew, it's more creative, like junk journaling. There we go. Now what I would do, ooh, look at that. It's messy looking, and I'm okay with that. See it? It's probably like too much tension for the paper. I don't know, or the opposite. Somebody's watching this video just dying laughing. I'm fine with that, you guys. Totally fine with that. I can entertain the experts and help other people say, hey, if she can do it, I can totally do it. Then I'm going to put one more strip on this one. I find that, you know, one is great, but sometimes I like a lot. And if I'm making like a cleaner style card, I'm probably just going to do one strip of stitching. I guess that's not true. On this one, I did 3. I did straight down the middle with a zigzag because I was attaching items. And then I thought, oh, it could use a little more. So I did the edges. This one we did 2. I like them both. And on this one, I didn't sew a second layer of paper to it. This one we did. Whatever makes you smile. And this one, I'm just going to put it off to the side. I do have 2 cameras going today, which I don't know how that's going to work out for you guys because I don't think I have the editing skills for that. What I might do is trim these up. I might just leave them shaggy. I might even glue this, oh my gosh, on the front of another card or another tag, or I might line it up. Too small for that one. It would be cute on the front of this as a card with a tie through it. If you would take layers of stuff and glue them together, there's no reason that you can't sew them together. Oh, look at these little hearts and flowers. Isn't this like the cutest ephemera pack ever? This is Indigo and Ivy from Pink Paisley. That's the collection we're using. Okay, and then these are great examples. I can take these little heart embellishments or some of these sequins and nudge them in here and have another layer of dimension on this. Now, I would not sew those items on. I wouldn't sew any of these. These are examples of, don't try and sew those on. Maybe people do sew sequins. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. Mostly because I think it's a level of detail I lack interest in. We could make a little cluster, and I'm going to put a dot of glue just because I think it'll be too tricky to hold it all. And again, be sure you let that glue dry and go light on it. I probably went a little heavy because I'm trying to talk. Ooh. Okay, I haven't used these before, but not saying we couldn't. Even though it doesn't totally go, I say we try it. What about this one? A little lighter. And then we could put bling in the center of it, or who knows, there's probably 17 more flowers down here. Okay, let's sew it on. And I'm going to go with a straight stitch. I don't know why. Probably because that's what it's on. See, my system is very scientific. Put your foot down, put your needle down. Then what I often do is I get my paper in my machine, put my needle down, then I might adjust items underneath. I'll show you one more way that I do it after this, because I don't always glue everything down. I'm going to straighten that out a little. And I don't always sew a straight line either. Sometimes I just curve it around. Sometimes I frame it in. You can do shakers with tulle and paper and sew around the edges. Look at that. And that flower is popping up a little. We could hit another straight stitch down the side, or we could glue it down. Whatever you want to do. There aren't really any rules. Now, this is a project I've been working on. I'm using that loosely. This is my piece of... Okay, I'm back. I've been working on what I imagined for this is I would cut it and then I would probably stitch down it. So let's do it. Okay, so I've cut a strip of it. I do think about how long I want things to be. Oh, that's fallen off and I want that on there. I do think about how long I want things to be. You could cut them after, but I like to have the ends connected, and if I want to keep my threads, I've trimmed some, but for the most part, I trim in advance. There we go, shortened it up. Also, this is really vintage paper, so it's a little delicate. Now, has a bunch of washi, has some items glued on it. Just that one spot is fresh glue. The other ones are very old. Then it is fun to have stuff hang off the edges and the sides. I'm looking to see what I've already randomly glued onto here. And you're gonna see repeat items just because I'm using what's in reach. Here we go. Now, don't sew over buttons. You're gonna have to go old school if you wanna put buttons on. I just use glue, but they do look really neat if you actually sew them on and have the thread through them. They do look cool. If you have buttons that you cut off a shirt or something and they have all the thread in them, don't take that out. Just glue it on. It looks really cool. So sometimes what I do, which may seem crazy to some of you, is I just have my paper. It has some stuff on it already. Maybe it doesn't. When I made fall junk journals, this is how I did it. I had owls and leaves and whatever, and I put it in the machine, and I put my needle in, and then I push my little star right up to the foot, and I just sew over it before it has a chance to get away. Now, right now, I don't have anything else loaded in there. I'm gonna stitch a little bit further down, then I'm gonna stop, then we're gonna find something that sort of makes sense. Here, let's put one of these flowers in. And you can set your needle, lift your foot, and stick a flower in. And because I want to, I'm gonna go crooked on this. I don't want it to be straight, so I'm gonna go over at an angle, and I sewed my flower down. I'm gonna drop that needle, and remember, this is super fragile paper I'm using. So this is not, like, if there are easy examples and hard examples, if this one stays together, it'll be a miracle. Then I'm gonna put a star right in the middle. I'm gonna sew across it at an angle. I just went across 3 layers of paper and some washi tape. Then I have a cool little tag right there, so I don't want to cover up the whole thing. So I'm just gonna stick in this little tiny star and put it on there. As long as it's under the foot, you lift up the foot, it'll catch it. It sewed it right in. Then you drop your foot again, lift your foot. How about a bow? Okay. Okay, we need a little something. We've got a big empty spot there. How about another star? And sometimes I look and say, oh, what paper did I use before? Do I want the same one or a different one? Who cares? Let's just put it in there. This is going to be adorable on a journal page. Okay, I nudged one more stitch for reasons I can't quite understand. Not sure why. I don't have room in the back, so I'm guiding the paper. Then we lift it. Now, this is old paper, so sometimes when you pull, you need to really grab that thread, hang on to it, and pull, because it'll tear it out if you don't. And I don't know if I've said that and been careful. So this was a piece of paper that would have been trash, except it was vintage, so there's no way I'd throw it away. All sorts of random bits that I had been adding to it, and then we stitched some more stuff on it and put it all together. And when you see these in journals, many of you compliment them or comment on them, and this is what happens. Use your style, right? Yours might be pink and it might be all flowers. Mine is blue and stars. I hope this was inspirational. If you have a sewing machine, set it up and have a great time. I thought I was done, but I forgot one more thing. Items that you would glue together, you can always sew them. Here's a tag. Here is a thing that says favorite memories. Interestingly enough, it happens to be the same exact size. I don't love that it's the same size because it covers up the stitching. Here's one. Happiness is here with you. Not enough contrast for me. I'm just digging. Here we go. Notes. Oh, this is cute on here. Almost like I planned it. random items off the counter. I could glue this on and it could be a pocket or a tuck spot, but what if I sew it? We've got the sewing machine out, so let me show you. This is all I would do. If you weren't watching me, I probably wouldn't even tack it down. But because you're watching me, I'm going to tape it right there. That's a repeatedly used washi. Be careful if you use a brand new one or use your purple tape, because otherwise you're going to have a tear spot right there above your pocket that you don't love. The same idea works with tulle and shakers. You could take a piece of tulle and just sew all around, but I'm not going to stitch the top, okay? And because I'm me, I'm not going to panic if it's not beautiful, but I am going to try and get it fairly straight because you're watching me. My needle's a little low, and the lighting is really strange for me. I'm hoping it's good for you guys, but drop that needle in. I've got a bit of a loop there. Many of my struggles are lack of sewing for 20, let's call it 20, but it's been longer than that, years, not sewing on paper. It's just sewing in general. Okay, we're gonna go backwards, we're gonna go forwards. Now, just like on anything else, when you get to that corner, you have to pay attention, turn. I probably didn't stop early enough for some of you. You could round them if you want. I don't, but you totally could. Sometimes I do. If you don't have experience sewing and that's what's got you spooked, watch some basic sewing tutorials on YouTube. I couldn't remember how to thread the machine. There were a couple parts I was doing wrong. The spool is the opposite of toilet paper. That was the part that was messing me up. And again, don't yank on a paper project because it will tear out. And then here's your pocket. Then just gently take off that washi. And ta-da! You have a cute little pocket and a little more interest than if you'd glued it. So you don't have to glue it and then sew it. You can just sew it. If your bobbin ran out when you were sewing on this pocket, you could tape and glue that back section and just restart where you left off. That has happened to me and the world didn't end. I hope you liked this and you got some great ideas out of it. Get those sewing machines out. The other thing that I do, I have the luxury of space, is my sewing machine is always set up. It's not in a box or a cupboard. I would probably never use it if it was. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.